billion.
Good.
$1 billion.
Zion Williamson, still out of the NBA's bubble, but he is getting tested daily for the coronavirus. Now remember, he left last week, left the bubble to attend to what the team is calling an urgent family medical matter. The idea behind the daily COVID testing is to speed up, potentially, the quarantine process for the Pelicans rookie once he returns to the bubble in Orlando. And speaking of leaving, Patrick Beverley did that Tuesday night. ESPN's Malika Andrews reporting the Clippers guard had to attend to an emergency personal matter. Beverley is expected to rejoin the team, but he will be subject to retesting and a quarantine before being cleared to work out. He's the second Clippers player to leave. Montrezl Harrell left the bubble for a family emergency last week.
And this guy's...
I also want to hear more about that house that you found. NBA news, though. Marvin Bagley III will miss the rest of his sophomore campaign with a foot injury. Kings went 2-11 in the 13 games that he played this season, 26-25 in games that he missed. What of the Greek freak taking part in some gamesmanship? Remember in April, Giannis told reporters he didn't have access to a hoop. Now he claims he did. Reigning MVP said he was only trying to, quote, get a little bit ahead of the competition. He's playing chess, man. Meanwhile, I hope Lakers guard Alex Caruso has an understanding older sister. He's missing her wedding to stay with the Lakers in the bubble, saying the team has title aspirations and, quote, we have worked too hard. We might talk about that later on this program. This just into SportsCenter, a welcome sight for the Houston Rockets. The man on the right there, Russel Westbrook, not only with the team in the bubble, but reporting to practice. Remember, he revealed on July 14th that he had tested positive for COVID-19, didn't travel with the team on July 9th. The health is getting back into form. Russel Westbrook speaking to the media and addressing the team's chemistry, which has no issue.
I think it's going to be very, very vital for us to be able to bond and stay very close-knit because times like this, I think it kind of only allows you to be able to come closer or grow apart. And I think that we're such a good place from what I heard from not being to come in and just fit along right where everything else is going perfectly fine.
SportsCenter on the Road is presented by Rocket Mortgage. To Orlando we go, where we find our Mark Spears joining us from this NBA bubble. And Mark, the Rockets get that key addition back. How would you assess Houston's playoff outlook now?
Well, Russell Westbrook actually said he was worried he might miss his first layup, but nobody plays harder than him. I expect him to be ready. The Rockets don't play for 9 days from now. They have an exhibition on Friday, but even if he doesn't play, it's not a big deal. Mike D'Antoni has to be ecstatic that he has a whole complement of players now to work with. Luke Mbah Moute will be there tonight. So keep in mind the Rockets are just a game and a half out of 4th. But only a game ahead of Dallas, who has a 7th spot. So these games are still very, very important for seeding purposes for the Rockets.
Westbrook did say of COVID-19, he explained how serious it is, calling it a matter of life and death. So it's great to see him back. Meanwhile, it's been about 24 hours since we first saw what the arena itself is going to look like for these games, the video boards, everything else. What's been the reaction from inside the bubble so far?
Well, this court that has Black Lives Matters on it, Anthony Davis said it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be pretty dope. He talked about some of the virtual capabilities in which family and friends can be seen virtually. Shout out to his dad, Big Ant. I know Big Ant is going to be out there screaming and yelling for his son. Maybe you'll see Bronny and the James clan virtually cheering for their dad. And also, though, Nikola Jokic, he was asked about it, and he's like, I haven't seen it. My GM said it was cool, but coming from Serbia, I played in hot gyms, I played in cold gyms. I just hoop. I don't care where it is. So I don't think the players are much worried about it, but a lot of them think that it's going to be pretty electronically, virtually, technology cool.
So, Mark, I'm wondering if there are any concerns that you've heard from players about possible distractions, not on the court, certainly, but video-wise around the playing surface.
You know what? I wonder if it's going to have a 2K feel to it. I kind of heard some rumblings about them. So, if anything, the distraction might just be not paying attention to the game and paying attention to everything that's going on. It's like playing basketball in a club. So there's no club to go to, but I guess that's the closest thing they could go. Yeah. Maybe they could have water service too during the game, because there ain't gonna be no bottle service either.
Some might say
it's pretty slow around here.
There's a joke to be made.
Those words on the court. A NBA season like no other in its history. We're looking forward to seeing it again on ESPN and ABC, and looking forward to seeing you, Lisa Salters, back at work from inside the bubble in Orlando.
Well, as another day passes inside the NBA bubble, more and more people are adjusting to their new surroundings. That includes the Clippers, one of the favorites to win this year's title. And while the league is open to bringing every amenity imaginable inside the bubble for the teams and their families, it will never match the comforts of home. But so far, so good.
The league's been great. They really have been, they've done everything right as far as I'm concerned. I mean, when you think about that, we're running a village for the first time. League's doing pretty well in city management. There is a lot of stuff we can do here. But as far as our health, we have an app every morning that you have to do. You're wearing bands. Everybody are wearing face masks, when you're out in public.
It's been good, You're able to be around, the guys that you've been missing for the past 3-4 months. Next scrimmage is just getting in shape, getting our team chemistry together, getting the flow, getting the rhythm. That's what I expect us to do.
All right, one other note on the Clippers. They will be without their starting point guard for an unknown period of time. ESPN's Malika Andrews reporting that Patrick Beverley left the Orlando bubble Tuesday night for an emergency personal matter, but he plans to rejoin the team in the future. But that date will be dependent upon how long he's gone and his subsequent quarantine once he arrives back in Orlando. And the aforementioned Malika Andrews joins us now from inside that bubble in Orlando. Malika, we know what a defensive presence Beverley is on the court for the Clippers, but what does it mean for the team all around for him being away?
Michael, this is part of their big heartbeat, I would say. That's who Patrick Beverley is to this team. When they got here and were in quarantine, Patrick Beverley was banging on the walls at 2 o'clock in the morning and yelling out to his teammates, "Yo, I'm just checking. Is everybody all right?" Because that's the type of guy that he is, both on and off the court. He is that vocal teammate. Kawhi Leonard was talking earlier about how over the break they actually worked out together, and that was a really good bonding time for them. And I saw Patrick at practice this morning. He was chatting with teammates. He was, smiling and seemed to be happy to be there. So he plans to return to this team as soon as he possibly can.
And they're already short-handed as well because Montrezl Harrell left the bubble to deal with a personal matter. Also, we'll see how long Beverley is away from his teammates before the season tips off. Malika Andrews there in Orlando.
With the NBA set to restart in Florida next week with 22 teams instead of 30, the league determined that voters for its season awards should consider only games played up through March 11th to choose the winners, so LeBron won't have an opportunity to continue to make a case for what would be his 5th MVP trophy. That would time with Jordan.
The things he's doing at his age, he's playing like probably one of his best years. Top team in the West. The things he's able to do on the floor, especially when everybody was saying, he was washed and he should hang it up and all these things. He come back with a dominant performance.
Year 17, he's probably owed a couple where he got missed out on. Obviously, a lot of people kind of counted him out and thought he was not washed up, but didn't think he was at a level where he was before. And it seems like he hasn't lost many steps at all, not even half a step.
He impacts winning more than anybody in the league. His IQ, he's the quarterback of both the offense and the defense for us. It's probably if you're going to choose one argument, when you have Tom Brady running the show offensively and Mike Singletary barking out calls on the defensive end, you're a dominant team. To have, the best offensive leader in the league and the best defensive leader on the league in one player is probably the best argument.
Columnist Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won the award 6 times.
Yes.
That's the most. Jordan, Bill Russell won at 5, LeBron 4. As for Giannis, you see, big favorite for the award, according to Caesars, at the time of the stoppage. It's going to be hard to defeat him. The Greek freak is looking to become just a 3rd player to win multiple MVPs by 25, joining LeBron and Kareem.
Skinny. What did you call him? Skinny Mellow?
Skinny Mellow.
Pretty good.
Or unrecognizable Mellow.
It is.
Is that actually Mellow?
It is. Well,
That's not Mellow.
He wants
That's
to play small
Damian
forward.
Lillard.
That's Damian Lillard, and we've talked about what the court is going to look like, the literal NBA court. and some of the video screens and how difficult it might be to shoot, Damian Lillard probably won't have an issue.
No?
With the shooting of the basketball? Probably not.
Okay.
No
How about that guy?
issue for the Clippers as long as you have those two, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, in action. You've been understaffed so far, but you do have a Morris twin joining the party, and you have Patrick Beverley, and you have Kawhi Leonard dealing with teammates. SportsCenter on the Road is presented by Rocket Mortgage, and we find our NBA reporter Malika Andrews in the NBA bubble in Orlando. Malika, you were at that Clippers practice this morning, and the NBA announcing Monday there were 0 positive tests for players in that bubble. What is Kawhi saying about player safety there?
You know, Kawhi was saying that even with all of the resources that these players have to some of the most renowned world experts around coronavirus, it is still a discussion with the players about the long-term effects of this disease, just because even from those experts, there is so much that is still unknown, especially about how this could have a long-term effect on athletes and their skill set and their abilities specifically moving forward. And so he said, yeah, you know, it's great to have everybody in practice aside from Montrezl Harrell. It's great that they have Marcus Morris back. That's what he was saying. But these are still conversations that we are having, along with the kind of getting to know each other fun that is also going on within the Clippers.
Morris arriving very recently to that bubble. Now the first regular season games just a little bit more than a week away. What more can you tell us about what it's going to look like inside those arenas?
There's some aspects that are so familiar and some aspects that are just so different, like they have large screens all the way around the arena. In some ways, it's a wonder whether or not it'll be very cool on the TV. I think it will be. And for players, you know, whether or not it's going to be a distraction is definitely something that has come up. And then in addition to that, the benches, they almost don't even look like benches. There are chairs that are spaced out along the side of the court, each of them 6 feet apart, which is kind of amusing when you think of, obviously, they were just on the court really wrestling and in each other's faces and guarding each other, and then as soon as they step off the floor, they have to be 6 feet apart from each other. But the NBA is just trying to minimize any contact as much as possible. And then obviously there is also the promise that Black Lives Matter is going to be across the bottom of the court, and it is there.